Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing a look using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Self-Made palette. And ever since I got this palette, I've been really inspired to use the shade Isla. It's a nice, pretty mint green color, and I've had it for a couple of months now and I haven't used it yet. So today I'm going to try that out. And I did kind of a smoky, dramatic look with a little wing. So if you want to find out how I got this look, keep watching. So to start off, I've used the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in the shade Original, and I've applied that all over my eyelids. Then I'm going to go on the Scotch tape. So I'm just going to take a little piece off and I'm going to stick it to my hand a couple times, and this is just going to get rid of some of the excess stickiness to it so it doesn't hurt when you put it on your eye. And then I'm going to apply it under my eye, lining it up towards my eyebrow, and this will be a guide for a nice crisp edge with the eyeshadow that we're going to use. And for eyeshadow today, we're going to use the Anastasia Beverly Hills Self-Made palette, which is one of my favorites. So to start, I'm using the shade Buttery, and on a Sigma E40 taper blending brush, I'm applying it all over the primer just to set it, and then I put it all over the crease as well. Then using the same brush, I'm going into the shade Blush, and I'm applying that all over my crease, and I'm putting it up against the tape as well just to start carving out that edge. Then using the same brush, I'm taking the shade Witchy, and using a very, very light hand, I'm applying that to the crease, and I'm also focusing on that on the outer edge of the eye. It is a rather dark shade, so using a very light hand is essential for this step. I am using a little more pressure when I apply it to the outer edge of my eye though, because I do want that outer V to be a bit darker. Using my MAC 242 shader brush, I'm going into the shade Isla, and I'm applying this all over my lid. So I'm just using a gentle patting and sweeping motion just to make sure I apply this everywhere, but making sure that I stay below the crease. And I'm blending into the shade Witchy. I'm dipping back into the shadow a second time to build up that color a little bit. It is a pigmented shadow, but I want the green to really stand out. Then using a Morphe E17 brush, I'm dipping back into the color Witchy, and I'm building up that darker color on the outer edge. So I'm blending that directly into the shade Isla and just darkening up the outer corner just a little bit. I'm going to keep patting that on and building it up, and once I'm done with that, I'm going to dip into the shade Spirit Rock, which is more of a black shade, and I'm going to very lightly put this just on the outer corner. As you can see, it's a little bit intense, so I am just going to blend that out. Everything tends to look a little more intense before you blended it in. So then I'm just going to apply a little bit more Isla again, just to make sure that everything's all nice and blended together. Then just to finish off, I am dipping into the shade Buttery and applying that into the crease just to blend out any harsh edges or lines. Then it's time for the fun part, which is the removal of the tape to find the nice crisp line that we've made with the eyeshadow. Eyeliner, I'm going to start with the L'Oreal Voluminous Smouldering Eyeliner in the shade Black, and I'm just going to very gently line the top of my eyelid into the lash line. This is going to lay a base for the liquid liner that we're going to use. I find it's much easier to apply if you've already started with a pencil eyeliner. Then I'm going to go in with the easiest liquid eyeliner ever to use, which is the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in the shade Trooper, and I'm going to start by going directly over top of the pencil liner that we had previously applied. Once I'm done that, for the first time on film ever, I'm going to start to build up a wing, which was very stressful. So I do this by making a line first, going downwards into the eyeliner. I use the eyeshadow we had applied as a guide, and then from that point, I go on an angle back down into the eyeliner on my eyelid. So then I just kind of touch it up to make sure it looks even, and then we're done. Then for primer, I'm using the Nivea Men Sensitive Skin Aftershave Balm, and this is very quickly becoming my holy grail primer. It's funny because when I first started using it, I actually didn't like it at all because I didn't find it controlled my oil very well. But as long as I set it with a mattifying powder, I find that my makeup stays put all day. And even if I do get a bit shiny, it doesn't affect the makeup at all. Then for foundation, I'm using, as always, the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation in the shade Classic Ivory. So I'm just dotting this all over my face, making sure that I hit all the major areas so that I have enough to blend out around my face when I go in with a brush. So then I'm just going to buff this in using a Morphe M439 brush, making sure that I pay attention to blending into the hairline, into the chin, and into the neck. I really find that the combination of this brush and that foundation leaves for a very flawless but yet natural looking finish once you're all done with everything. For concealer, I am going to be using the Urban Decay Naked Skin Weightless Complete Coverage Concealer in the shade Fair Neutral. So I'm just going to apply this under my eye in a open triangle looking shape. Normally with other ones I do make a full triangle, but I found this one's so full coverage that I really don't need to. And then I am blending that in using an e.l.f. small stipple brush. And I do try to blend back and forth rather than in one direction, just to make sure that I don't end up with any concealer stuck in any of my fine lines, to make sure it blends nice and smoothly. I'm going to set everything using the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Translucent Powder, and I am doing this using a MAC G8 brush. I used to use this brush for blush back in the day, but it is also a powder brush, so I'm trying to use this one to set my face now, since I really don't like the Sonia Kashuk brush that I've been using, since it sheds all over my face. I'm just going to quickly apply my lip balm, which is the Maybelline Fit Me Dr. Rescue in the shade Too Cool. And we're going to return back to the eyes, and using that same L'Oreal eyeliner I'd used earlier, I'm going to just line my waterline on both eyes. So I'm just going to gently apply that. Pretty lightly, because we are going to blend some shadow into it. I don't want it to be too intense. Then going back into the Anastasia Self-Made palette, I'm taking the shade Witchy, and on a Sigma E30 pencil brush, I am applying that underneath the eyeliner. Then using that same brush, I'm taking the shade Buttery, and I'm just blending out the shadow just to make sure it doesn't create any harsh lines and doesn't look too intense. I'm going to apply some mascara, and I am using the Maybelline Lash Sensational. This is a really great drugstore mascara, and it's super inexpensive. So I am putting a coat on my top lashes, and then once I'm done that, I'm going to put a little bit on my bottom lashes. This brush is a little bit tricky to use on the bottom lashes, I find, just because it's curved. And I actually really got used to using the L'Oreal telescopic one, which is very, very tiny. But it works. And then I'm just going to apply a second coat, and then that'll be it for mascara today. I've already penciled in my brows using the NYX Micro Brow in the shade Taupe, but now I'm going to set them using the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Plumper in the shade Light to Medium. So this is just going to make sure that all my brow hairs stay in place, and it adds just a little bit of color to the brows as well and makes everything just look a little bit more put together. Then after the brows, it's time for one of my favorite parts, which is highlighting, and this is the Balm's Mary Lou-Manizer, and I'm just using a Morphe M501 brush just to apply this to the high points in my cheeks. And once I'm done with that, I'm just going to apply a little bit to the brow bone. Usually I use a smaller brush to do the brow bone, but I had this one in my hand, so I just went for it. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to apply some blush, and I'm using the Urban Decay Afterglow Powder Blush in the shade Fetish. And this is a really nice, natural looking matte pink shade. I really like using this blush when I do a more intense smoky eye, because it doesn't really add too much color to the face. It is quite pigmented, so you do have to use a light hand and tap it off before you apply it. Then using a fan brush, and I believe this is from the brand Quo, I'm going to blend all my cheek products together to make sure there's no harsh edges, and also to make sure I sweep off any excess powder. Then this is when I realized I completely forgot to contour. Oh, the horror. So I'm taking the Anastasia Contour Kit, and I'm using the shade Fawn on a Morphe G3 brush, and I'm just gently contouring the hollows of my cheeks. I actually do this every day. I kind of feel naked when I don't do it. Then to finish off for lipstick, I am using the NARS Audacious lipstick in the shade Anita, and I'm applying this directly onto my lips. These lipsticks are one of the best lipsticks I've ever tried. They dry down matte, and they're very creamy to apply, and they're very pigmented. They are expensive, but I do find that they're very much worth the price. I don't know how they did it, but the formula is just simply amazing. So on that note, this is the completed look. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Otherwise, I will see you next week with another video. Bye!